We're a few days past the vernal equinox, the official start of astronomical spring. So it's a great time for another visit from our resident astronomer, Dr. Chris Palma, from the Penn State Department of Astronomy and Astrophysics. He's also Associate Dean for undergraduate students in the Eberly College of Science. Looks like you survived the winter okay, Chris?
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, I didn't think.
Couple big snowstorms and one or two cold outbreaks, but all in all,
Yeah.
not too bad. Hey, when I think back on recent happenings in your field, my first thought is Perseverance. It's
hmm
been about a month since it landed on Mars. Love seeing the excitement of the folks at NASA, the amazing pictures that have come back. But like, what's next? And what are you, the astronomy community, most excited about?
Yeah. I'm actually going to talk about engineering a little bit more than astronomy. I'm really excited that Perseverance has a helicopter, right? There's a helicopter on Mars, and they're going to test out powered flight on another planet. And I think what I'm so excited about with that is it's really going to open up Mars exploration for future missions if that is successful, which we all are pretty optimistic it will be.
Yeah, and sticking with the Mars theme,
Mhm.
two other countries, China and the United Arab Emirates, also have spacecraft currently orbiting Mars. I mean, what will they do that hasn't already been done or that Perseverance will be doing?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the UAE one. An orbiter, so it's not going to land. And you should be excited about this. It's a weather satellite for Mars, right? It's really designed to tell us a lot about the atmosphere, and we need to learn about that because if we really do want humans to land on Mars, we need to know about the surface and the atmosphere and everything about the planet. And so that's really the key. But I think what I'm also excited about with these other countries getting involved is the more countries are successful at exploring Mars, the more people are prepared to help us get humans to take that first foot step on Mars.
And that is a big step.
Yeah.
And I actually did not know that that probe had weather station on it. That's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Uh, Sticking with our solar system, I noticed that a couple days ago, back on Sunday, one of those so-called potentially hazardous
Mhm.
asteroids passed within about 1 million miles of Earth, which I know that sounds like a lot, but I don't like anything being called potentially hazardous.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about the work going on to catalog and track these
Yeah.
objects.
Well, a rock doesn't have to be very big to be hazardous, right? And the problem is the smaller they are, the harder they are to see. And so
Yeah.
that's really been the challenge is we can observe the really large ones, but the smaller they are, the harder they are to discover. So we have a lot of automated telescopes that are trying to find these. But what I'm excited about there is our friends at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, the same folks who did Perseverance. They're working on a mission called NEOCAM, which is designed to find as many as possible of the really hazardous ones that are about the size of a football stadium or larger. And so when NEOCAM flies, we should really finally have a complete catalog of all the really dangerous ones that could potentially interact with Earth.
Sounds like something that Hollywood should make a movie out of. I
Yeah.
think they already have.
Yep.
Um, let's talk a little bit about your department because
Mhm.
you're always doing such interesting things. You continue to be involved in a project called, I love this, Ice Cube,
Mhm.
which appropriately takes observations from detectors that are buried in the Antarctic. I
Yeah.
mean, what are some of the newest discoveries coming out of that project?
Yeah, well, let's talk quickly about the engineering there too, right? I mean, this is really interesting. You have these strings of detectors that are buried in the ice. So what they detect are flashes of light as elementary particles interact with the ice in Antarctica. And so this detector just made a measurement of one of the highest energy particles ever able to be studied. So the interesting piece about that is there aren't too many ways that the universe can generate really, really high energy particles. So we think this particle traveled from billions of light years away all the way through space, then interacted with the ice on Earth, causing a flash of light, allowing us to detect it. So I think that's the really exciting thing is how we're able to use Antarctic ice to help us study the universe in ways that you never could have perhaps imagined before.
So as we mentioned earlier, spring began on Saturday, the vernal equinox. Uh, One sort of myth about the equinox is that daylight and nighttime are equal lengths. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what equinox means, but that's not quite true, right?
Yeah. So if you think about sunrise and sunset, which I know you do a lot, right? So the sun is not just a pinpoint. So sunrise happens the moment we can start to see the sun above the horizon, and sunset doesn't happen until the last piece of the sun is below the horizon. And so if you actually calculate on the equinox, it's not exactly 12 hours between sunrise and sunset, but it's
Right,
close,
right.
close enough. Yeah. But that is definitely a myth that I've heard before that I try to try to share with everybody.
And it also what also plays a role is sort of the bending of the light around the curvature of the Earth
Yeah.
adds a little bit in there. I know you wanted to say a little bit about sky watching
Mhm.
before we close up, maybe some tips about the next couple weeks or some general tips.
Yeah. I love to talk about Orion at this time of year. It's a beautiful constellation on those clear nights. And I've asked folks before, like, to try to learn how to find Betelgeuse, the red star, and Rigel, the blue star. But what I wanted to suggest people do this time, really challenge yourself to see what is the faintest star I can see in that part of the sky. And the reason I suggest that is it gives you a measurement of how dark the sky is from where you live. The center of Penn State campus, I can actually see pretty faint stars. And so you can compare what you see to a map and get an idea for how bad the light pollution is where you live.
Interesting. Yeah, I've recently moved and it's a lot darker out here. I should do that myself.
Yeah.
All right, Chris Palma, thanks for stopping by, and we'll check in with you again in a couple months.
Thank you.